Hello, thank you for watching. Today's walk-ins is Kristina and Herbert from Bringing Education Home. Hi, Kristina. Hi, Herbert.
Hello, Brett. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Sorry, it's your show. We are happy to be here. Sorry.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us today.
yeah, that's okay. So, tell us a little bit about your podcast first.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So Bringing Education Home has been up and running for a couple of years now. We have over 85 episodes, and we are continuing to build. A new episode comes out every Friday. And with Bringing Education Home, we are talking to education experts and people who help families really take charge of their child's education, really help develop the family, and make sure that they have the resources that they need to grow happy, healthy, and successful kids.
Mm-hmm. So let's start right into the questions. The viewers are used to that. I'm start asking the questions right away. And what made you start the podcast? Was there a personal story or was it your own education?
Podcasting was one of those things that we kind of were told as we were building our business would be a good thing to have out there to help bring in clients and things like that. But it's turned into a passion. It's turned into something that I care about deeply because I want parents to be able to find those people and those things that will really help them and their children grow and develop the way that they need to. So, I mean, at first it was kind of a business thing, but now it's like, no, I want to get the word out to people that they can have people come and help them with their life, with their children, and make things better for our kids, because that's the main goal, is helping our children be happy, healthy, and successful.
Yeah, so I do lives on my Facebook channel, just me talking about my day all of the time. And we turned that, well, not, we didn't turn that into a podcast, but when we first started podcasting, Kristina was like, oh, I'm not sure I want to do this. She didn't want to go on camera. And I'd been doing my little live thing for a while. And I was like, no, let's just go. So we did it. And like by the second time, she goes, oh, I like this.
Yep.
I will keep doing this. I'm having fun. So within 2 podcasts, she became a podcaster and just really took off and enjoys this a lot.
Yeah, it is. What was the business? What's the business that you're on? You keep on saying about the business. So what's the business side of the podcast?
So the business is called Vibrant Family Education, and it was a brainchild of ours, mine. My wife was a teacher for 27 years, and the last couple of years were really not fun for her. I remember when she first started teaching, she would cry at the end of the year because her kids were going away and she was going to miss her kids. And then for the last couple of years, she was actually crying at the start of the year and throughout the year of how she wasn't able to reach the kids, about how the rules were changing and how she was having to teach to a test instead of being able to educate the children. And so we started a company to help people take their children out of the educational system. And it's more than homeschooling. Because it's more about educating the children and getting the children to learn how to love learning. Because once they love learning, then they become lifelong learners. And so instead of it being just to get them to the 12th grade, just to get them to graduate as a senior, that's not what we do. We get them to start understanding how to learn. We get them to understand what they want to learn about. And as that happens, they grow into lifelong learners who are going to be continually able to find what they love and keep growing. And it's just a way of also helping the family in other ways, with communication, with scheduling, with how to get stuff done around the house, using those as learning opportunities. So it's really about whole family education in the guise of helping people homeschool, but it is so much more than homeschooling.
I like how you say it's all family together. It's not just kids in the school. It's everybody's learning together and you're helping the kids learn as well. Well, Kristina, how was the education changed with 25 years? If you think about how you started and what it is now.
Well, the education completely changed because it was my dream job. I knew when I was 8 years old that I wanted to be a teacher. I pretended school with my brothers and everything, and I helped out with school and high school. And then, of course, I went to college, got my degree, and I started teaching. And it was my dream job. I love being in the classroom with the kids, interacting, helping them learn and grow. Those little light bulbs that would pop off, and you would know that they got exactly what you were talking about. And at the same time, I was able to communicate with the parents. The parents were there. We communicated back and forth. We were a team to help that child grow and develop and become the best that they could be. Unfortunately, over the years, our society changed, our school system has changed. There is new mandates. There are new things that have to be done. And like Herb said, I had to go from teaching the child and having the best interest of the child at heart to being on a certain page of a curriculum at a certain day to pass this test and they were just kept pushing them through. So I would stand there and go, no, this child isn't ready for that topic yet. We can't do that. They're like, it doesn't matter. You have to be on schedule. You have to have this test. And then there are other political things, unfortunately, that also came into the system that just really didn't resonate with me. And when I was finally told one day that, no, you don't get to talk to the parent, this office will take care of that. I was like, oh, wait a second. This is not okay. I need to have that communication with parents so that they know what's going on, so that we can problem solve together. And then we can help the child the best that it can be done, right? And so when all of that changed, and like Herb said, I was crying. It's like, this is too hard. I can't reach the kids. I can't reach the parents. There are so many things that are impacting my teaching. It's like, I need to get out of here and do something better. So going to the parents, becoming an educational consultant, becoming a parent coach, helping families and children in their home is the best way to do it right now.
And one of the biggest things that she said in that is she was pushed to a schedule. So if a child falls behind, then it's like, no, you have to get them up to this. You have to get them up to this. There's no way to get that child caught back up because they increased the class sizes. So she had over 30 second graders in her classroom. When it was 20, if one or two children dropped back, she could get the class started and help a couple of them. But when the class sizes got to be 30, 32, 33, then when somebody fell behind, she didn't have the ability or to go back and help that person. So as soon as a child started falling behind, they were left behind, because that's why nationwide right now, the literacy rate of graduating seniors is less than a 6th grade level. So over half of the children graduating in America right now read at or below a 6th grade level. Because as soon as they miss something, as soon as they don't understand something, they're pushed forward, and they never have the opportunity to go back and get caught up and catch that critical part that they missed.
But how is it possible then for them even graduate the class if the teachers just force the numbers or?
They teach the tests.
Yeah, we teach to the test, and if a child falls behind, it doesn't matter. They're graduating them with C's and D's, the lowest grades possible. So instead of graduating everybody with an A and a B, a high grade where they are competent in their skills, they're passing them with C's and D's.
And they even took the C's and D's away, and now it's like meets states. Needs, doesn't quite meet needs. And so the grading system has been taken away. And again, with the teaching to the test, the teachers know what's on the tests. And so they almost like give them the answers through their teaching, so that the only part that the children understands is what's going to be on the test, but they don't have a deep understanding or a deep knowledge of what they actually are learning. They're just learning facts and figures. They're not understanding the reasoning or the underlying reasons for what they're learning.
I want to bring out the big difference as well now, what has been happening, the way I see, and the school boards and everything like that, especially school boards. It's became more political than actual, like, taking care of what the kids' knowledge is.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we really try to put the message out there, is that, parents need to be encouraged to take charge of their child's education. The school board is there for their agenda, which is supposed to be the benefit of the children and the family. Unfortunately, we've seen that is not always the case. So that's when those parents really need to become empowered. They really need to step in there and go to the school boards if they can, make a change there if they can, But then if they can't make that change, if they can't get what they need for their child through the regular system, then become empowered yourself and take them out of the system, or take them to another place where you can help them learn and grow the way they need to.
Yeah, and the school boards have kind of been taken over by activists. So people who are very vocal, very loud, and people think, oh, they louder they talk, they're passionate about it, so let's elect them. But the activism that they have is in what they want to see the children doing, not necessarily in educating the children or what's best for the children. So one way that we also encourage parents, if they can't take their kids out of school, which we really want them to, because the school system is broken, and the best way to let the government know and to get change is to radically change the school district is by taking all the kids out. And if the kids stop showing up, then the school will have to start competing to get those kids back. But what's going on? And so if the parents can't take their kids out, we highly encourage them to get incredibly involved with the school. So get in the school, get on the school board, be there, be in the faces of the people who have these agendas, and start taking your school back from the people who don't have your children's best interest at heart. And they might say that they do, they might think that they do, but if you look at what they're actually doing, they're not pushing education, they're pushing propaganda, they're pushing different agendas that really don't have to do with educating their child. They have to do with getting them to conform to society. And conforming children are not learning. You need to get your children into education, not confirmation.
Yeah. And that's the difference as well, what I see. Oh, in my personal view, I don't want but that's you kind of doing that process, but in your own way. The way I see, I don't want kids to come out of their schools, but I want that school system to change. So your way is changing the school system is kind of forcing the school to do schools and politics to do something to change the schools, because I think the schools should be there, but the system of the school and education should be changed.
Yeah, but it took 50 or 60 years of slowly changing the education system to get it to the point where it is now, where the last couple of years where they were able to rapidly change it. So to get it back the other way is going to take a lot of years. You can't fix a 50-year problem in 2 or 3 years. Right. It's going to take a lot of years. So there is this transition that's going to have to happen. But in the meantime, the kids that are still in the system aren't going to be getting the best care. So seriously, if you want your children to excel, I mean, right now, colleges are highly recruiting from homeschool children and from children who are educated at home, because they can learn, because they do have resilience, because they do have responsibility and personal responsibility. And the kids that are coming in from public schools are very entitled. They're not able to think properly. They're not able to think critically. They have these weird problems that don't translate into self-education, which is what colleges basically are. It's the start of your own self-education. So by bringing your children home and getting them to learn how to educate themselves earlier, then they have a leg up in college tremendously. And they are also more targeted in what they want to learn. So they're going to college for a reason instead of going to college to go to college. Because so many children now is like, oh, my parents said I'm going to go to college. Well, I think I'll go for this. Whereas if you start learning what you love, then it's like, oh, I'm going to college to gain these skills to fix this part so that I can have this career that I'm understanding that I want already. Or I want this kind of a job, so I'm going to be doing this. And so people who understand and pull their education go through college much more targeted with an intention that helps them get what they need. And colleges are really looking for that, because they get through college, they make it, and then they have successful careers, and then they can donate back to their colleges. Yeah. And so colleges are even looking more for the home educated children right now.
Because I got my education from a different country. I'm originally from Estonia. So our education system was really different. So we actually did learn to the point and I was also in this little gap that where I I'm from Estonia, so when I was until 9 years old, it was still Soviet Union, and then we separated. So I got a little bit of this education where people were teaching what to think. And then when we separated, there was like a gap, and everybody like, well, what are we teaching now? And what was left was, instead of what to think, was like real facts and real science and how to think, and that was left. So we got like a real different education from everybody else in the world. I see my generation from my country, we were able to get completely different education of being really independent thinkers and problem solvers and everything like that.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put it. So when Kristina first started teaching, she taught children how to think. In the last several years, she was told to teach children what to think. And that is a really big thing that's going on right now. And that was a beautiful way to say that. And so you got to see the differences too. So this is what you think, this is how you think, and which way do you feel is better for the children? Like right now, which way do you think is better for the children? Teaching them what to think, or how to
not just for children, for adults as well. That's why right now you have all those adults that can only hear what, let's say for the news, they hear what's been told and they think that's the way it is, instead of actually thinking about, is it or isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And so it goes back to the parents. You know, we really are encouraging parents to be aware, be awake, be involved, and do what's best for your family and your children, because then that ripples out into the community. So if we have strong families, if we have strong thinkers, if we have people who are really taking care of themselves and their families, and then that branches out to the community through community service, through community outreach, then we're building that strong platform that we need again for a strong country and strong people.
Yeah, and one of the reasons people have so much trouble taking their children out of school is that they were taught that, oh, they need to be educated at school. So there's this brainwashing that happened to them while they were in school, that, oh, we have to be in school, so our children have to be in school, and our children's have to be in school, and the homeschoolers were the weird ones. Well, now it's the homeschoolers who are the more socially adapted ones, because they can talk to people of all ages, they can talk to adults, they can talk to, and they're not afraid of that. And in school, there's so much in the box that they're only talking to the people their own age. They're only talking to the people in their class, and they're taught what to think. So that the differences right now are drastic. And so parents, I have been told, oh yeah, no, we have to have our kids in school. And it was like, oh man, we need to get our kids out of school. But then when it gets to the point of okay, it's time to take them out, it's like, oh no, we can't take them out of school. And so that programming kicks in and is one of the biggest hurdles that the parents face. Is like, they know they want to do this, but then right at the last second, it's like, oh no, we have to keep our kids in school. And you can just see that programming kick in, that closing up of the heart. And that's such a sad thing, because they know it's broken, they know it's wrong, and then right at the last minute they cave into the system.
So now I see that understand more about your name of your podcast as well, like bringing education home. So now I understand more what it means.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, and we have so our podcast, we have nutritionists come on our podcast, we have authors, we had voice actors who taught children how to become more with their voice and speak with their voice with authority. We've had comic book artists who help children start writing comic books and as a way to express themselves. We had people come in and talk about digestive systems, and that was a whole fun, because we got to talk about poop for the whole podcast. So it's just, and communication is such a big one, because communication is really key to family dynamics. So we have lots of education people come and talk from different levels. We've had death doulas coming in and talking about death, because our children are separated from death. And if you're separated from death, then you're also separated from life. And so, you know, if there's a funeral and the kids stay home and the parents go, so when stuff starts to pass away around them, they're not sure how to deal with it, and they don't have that connection to it. And so there's no understanding. So we have a wide range of things to come in and help with the families. And we have experts. And so if there's a place that there's a hole and you find that's really interesting, you want to bring that into your family, then you can reach out to these experts and they can come in and help you get more information on specific topics. So we go all over the place about bringing education home.
The whole child, the whole family, life skills that people need to be happy, healthy, and successful.
So those podcasts, now I understand as well, the podcast, not just parents can watch it, that kids watch it with them.
They can, exactly. Yeah. Now we do talk
topics that, yeah.
Yeah, we talk mostly at an adult level, but if you have a teenager who is interested in a certain topic, absolutely pop them into the podcast and let them hear what the expert has to say. And every episode, we require the experts to give actionable items during the episode. So they are actually giving tips and hints and ways to help children and families immediately right there during that episode. They aren't allowed to sell their product and all that kind of stuff. It is a resource. It is a place to come and learn. But then we, of course, always give the information because they might have resonated with that family and that family might need them exactly. So then we share that information so the expert can get reached out to if they need it.
And for the viewers, all the contact links for Kristina and Herbert are in the description. So look it up, go on the website, sign up and look for the podcast, listen to some podcast. All the information is in description. So what was the most challenging part with the parents have, like you said, when they trying to do something different? Or actually, like I have this kind of question. When the parents will leave their kids in the school, they can still use all this information and still do all this thing. All what you're providing, they can combine that with the school as well. If they can't, like with the job and everything, they can't do the homeschooling, they can still use your podcast to give the child better education.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we like to talk about it in this way is we call it wrap around. So if you absolutely have to leave your child in that education, then you wrap these things around them when they are home. So in the evenings, on the weekends, you take these things, and even little changes like family meetings or eating meals together can make a huge difference in the dynamics of your family and the way that your children learn, because they're understanding what is important to you and your families, right? And then the other thing along with that is actually one of the myths that we talk about, is that parents don't think they can take their child out of school because they do have a job, or they can't, whatever, they have to, don't have a place for the child to go. And that is also one of the biggest myths, because when you homeschool, yes, you still have to work, but guess what? Your child, especially if you're working from home, like many of us are doing now, especially if you have someone who can help take care of the child, you can still educate at home. They don't have to necessarily go to public school, because the flexibility of homeschool is so much different. It's not taking the classroom and putting it in your living room.
It's not 8 hours a day. It's not 8 hours a day. It's 2 or 3 hours a day of the academics learning. But then most of the rest of the day is the child doing their own learning, whether it's learning through art, learning through sports, being around the house and helping around the house. There's so much learning that can be done with helping with cooking, that the academic portion is only 2 or 3 hours a day, and that can be done in the evening while you're home. So your children throughout the day can be finding their passions, can be doing what they love, and start pulling the education that they want around their passions, around, I really like doing this, so they can try it for 6 months. And if after 6 months it's like, you know what, this isn't really for me, I want to try that, then they can try that for 6 months. And then if they really like that, they can do it for a year or 2 years. And so instead of being like, let's say music, like right now, the music program is down to 1 day a week in the schools that we have. So what if a kid really likes music and they only get to do it once a week? But now they have several hours a day where they get to play on their drums, or they get to play on the guitar, or they get to play their music
and learn.
Then they grow exponentially in the things that they really want to do. And as they do that, then they start learning other things around that. So it's a much healthier way to go.
One thing I want to bring up as well, since I see you both so involved in it, I want to bring out for the viewers and if you, however, you're watching, that father and mother both can be involved in education with a child. It doesn't have to be just a teacher. It doesn't have to be just a mom. I think it's just Herbert. It's like the father's role in teaching their kid, being involved is so important.
And you don't have to be the one teaching it. There are online resources, there are online education things. So you could have an older sister or an older brother or a grandma, grandpa, or an aunt or uncle who can be with your children during the day, and they just have to make sure that they're at that computer for that specific amount of time, but then they're also allowing the children to grow. So it doesn't have to be the parents that are being the teachers. There are so many different options, and that's what we do. We talk to parents about what they can do. And also, if your kid is in school and they fall behind, we have programs to help them get caught up. There's tutoring. There's also ways that we help parents get involved in the school system. So their children are having problems. She was in the school system and knows how to navigate it. So she can tell the parents what to say, how to approach and get help that their children needs. So it's a full service thing. We're not just about homeschooling, but while we really encourage the children homeschooling, this is about educating your child. This is about the children and the family. So if they are falling behind in school, the sooner you get them caught up, then they can continue growing in their learning. So we had these authors on called The Wisest Learners, and they said that the biggest factor in a child's education is the involvement of the parents. So be curious about your kids, get involved with their education, and that is the biggest thing that you can do. And so we just take it to the extreme on our side. But
thank you for bringing up that. The whole family needs to be involved. The mothers, the fathers, the grandmas, everybody, the whole family, and be those really good learning role models, so that your child has somebody to follow and grow with.
And one of the things is sometimes the parents miss something in school, and as they're the ones educating their children or following up, they get those things that they missed. And suddenly there's things clicking in the parents, and they become learners as well. So it is a really healthy way to go about developing your family.
Exactly. And what I wanted to point out, a lot of this goes in early education. A lot of parents, they think, I've noticed this one, they say, oh, they don't understand this yet. And they don't have that conversation with the kid at home, like maybe on teachers as well, but at home, I notice that the parents say that. It's like, but in my view, it's like, well, if you're not going to talk with them about that and they don't know that, how are they going to learn? How are they going to understand? So it's like, you don't approach like the kid like, oh, they too young, not that too young, but they don't understand something like basic. It's like the way they learn is when you have a conversation with your child.
And they're watching everything. Please, please, please. They are watching and hearing everything. So if you're talking about a topic in front of your child, they're hearing it. What message do you want them to get from that topic that you're talking about? They are watching your behavior. Every time you blow up and yell and scream, the child's trying to figure out, why is that happening? Is it me that's doing that? Is it somebody else that's doing that? You have to make sure that you are conscious and aware. Now, does that mean that parents have to be perfect? Absolutely not, because we aren't. But what do you do if you make a mistake? How can you be that super good, awesome role model and say, oops, mom just messed up. I apologize. This is what was going on. It wasn't you. It was something that I was thinking about. And how can we make this right again?
Yeah, it's simple. But I always really encourage from young age, even when they're babies, to talk with your kids.
Yes,
because like so many parents leave them just by themselves and they do their own thing. And even in a house, there's no communication. They don't talk with their kids at all.
Yeah. And that's a real disservice, because how do we learn our vocabulary? How do we understand different words? It's by talking about it. It's by seeing it. So when you're playing with your young child, use those descriptive words. Oh, I'm touching the rough dog that has, prickly hair, or I'm touching the soft kitty. You're using those words. Oh, I'm climbing over this. So you're narrating basically kind of what you're doing, so they understand those words and they can really get that vocabulary from a young age. Because if you want your child to read, guess what? They have to have the motor skills to do it, and they have to have the vocabulary in the background to be able to understand it as well. So you're teaching your child how to read when they're infants.
Exactly. What I was doing as well, I was laughing when my daughter was a baby. I was asking a question and answering the question. So I was like I asked the question, I answered the question, but that's the way she hears the voice and sees my lips moving, and then she learns from that.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes, because that is the way you really make sure that they're understanding all of that stuff. The other thing is activity. Please, please, please get your young children out and moving and things, because as you're getting them to the park, as you're taking the nature walk, as you're doing things in life, that them moving, they're building their coordination, which we know is super important, but they're also training their eyes how to track and move and see differences in things. So guess what? Like I said, you're already teaching them how to learn, because those are the things they need to learn how to read. They have to have proper eye movement. They have to have proper discernment of differences. They have to have the coordination to be able to do that. So all of this activity and movement as little itty bitty kids is setting them up for strong, healthy learning.
Yeah, give them toys to play with, and as much as you can, put the electronics down, because playing with blocks, playing with puzzles, playing with their hands, playing with things actually helps them read. It gets their hand-eye coordination. It gets their mind going. And if they're just staring at a screen going like this, then their eyes aren't moving. They're not getting. Now, some of these skills are important in this day and age, but for the full learning, they need to be up and moving, not staring at a screen. So they need to have outside activities. They need to have toys. They need to have things to get their hands on and to touch and feel and move around.
I think with the tablets and things as well, you have to pay attention. What are they watching? What they doing? Because I figure out with my daughter, what I taught her and what she's doing the things that, not just watching random videos, but something where she learns, or something that she gets a skill, or something that she can do something with. So she's not just looking at that visual, like things going around. She actually, like, even for drawing, like your podcast or somebody else's, they have some things for kids where they look how to draw the things, and they can actually do it with their hands. So I think that's important to see what your kids are watching on the tablets, or what's the intake is. So not for them just to stare at the screen, which I kind of think like that tablet is even better than a TV, where the TV is just floating image.
Right.
Instead of having a TV on, because have them like games that they can actually play with. Same way, they still have to have those outside tablets when you put the tablet away, and they have to do with the real hands there as well. But because I have some computer programs and a laptop that I had 3D programs, and I don't know how to use them, but I give the pen to my daughter, open the program, and say, figure it out. So now she has to actively use her brain and figure things out. Like, I don't know how to do it, but they grow up with it, so they can figure out how to do that.
Absolutely.
So it's important also not to just think about not to have tablets at all, but when they do have those hours that they can use it, what they use it for.
Yes.
Yep. And we've had experts on our show that talk about that as well.
Exactly. So let's go to the older kids now. We have some time still. We're going to start wrapping up. But let's go to that age where they're in a high school.
Now that's a
Oh,
little bit out of my wheelhouse because I did teach elementary school and I love the youngers, but we've learned a lot through other experts who have talked with us as well. And one of the things that those experts who talk with those teens a lot really talk about that communication, right? Hopefully you've been building the communication style with your student, with your teen from a young age. But if you have not had real deep conversations with your child, or things are getting really rocky right now because of the teenage hormones and things like that, those middle school and high schoolers, don't give up. Keep talking with them. Keep having family meetings. Keep bringing times when you can come together. And if you haven't started, if you really realize that you don't have a strong connection with your child right now, start small. And one of the things the experts tell us that we've talked with a lot is to start by not having a direct conversation with them face to face. Nobody gets, a lot going or feels super secure when you're face to face, like you're being stared down, right? So instead, take your child, that teenager, for a drive and talk to them while they're in the car. Do the dishes with them at the sink so that you're kind of side
So
by
you're
side.
looking in the same direction.
Yeah,
So, and
take a
you're kind
walk
of
with
moving
them.
in the same direction. And so then as you start that conversation, there's a moving conversation instead of this blocking against somebody that you're not used to talking with. And it's a we have our they also talk about starting slow. It's not like not jumping right into the heavy stuff. It's like finding out how to talk to your children, learn some of their communication ways, and how to communicate with your children before you. So it's a building process. It's not a we haven't done it for years and now we're going to be doing it every day, every week, and on the schedule. So you need to build it in and learn how to do it, and not jump in and expect it to be perfect right off the bat. And if it's not, don't give up. You build into it.
mm-hmm. And what I want to see with the when they in a high school, what I pay attention is so they will actually that's when they need most help, not in educational wise, but
Mhm.
the life skills wise,
Yeah.
because school lacks on those life skills. So now
Mhm.
those last 3 years, they just pretty much repeat in a school system. They just repeat what they learned. They go to exams to get in college, but they're not learning any life skills that they're gonna use when they're gonna go to the college. They don't know how to start a laundry machine. They don't know how to balance their money. They don't know any of those things.
That's one of the things we talk about
Yep.
is how start talking about your finances with your children. Start helping them in the kitchen so that they can learn how to cook. Because so many kids now get to college and they don't know how to cook, or they get their own house. Some
Mm-hmm.
people are buying houses and they don't know how to care for or clean their house. And so, start with the home economics, with the home finances,
Mm-hmm.
with the home cleaning, with the cooking. Teach them about cars if you have a car. So give them, start building up the skills, because it's like, oh, we're married. They go out, they get married, and they have their first house. It's like, well, now what do we do? And they have to like learn all of the house stuff while they're trying to get a job as well. It's like,
Mhm.
no,
Mm-hmm.
Or they give up and they hire it out all the time instead. And yeah, that's okay to, encourage our economy by hiring things out. But, people are spending so much money and going into so much debt because they can't take care of simple things.
so by
Mm-hmm.
bringing education home, you
Yep.
have your children home, and they're also watching you.
Yep.
So again, and it's not like, so, oh, go clean your room. It's hey, let's go do this, and you teach them how to clean your room. It's like, oh, there's a space, and this goes in that space, and that means that's this kind of cleaning. So if they've never cleaned a room and you say go clean the room, and they get there and it's like, I don't know what to do.
You're going to fight with them instead.
So yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
there's a learning curve. And it's a building stuff. And if you're going to take your children out of school at the start of high school, it's not you take them out of school and the next day they're homeschooling.
Mhm.
You take a while to de-school them, to get them out of that habit, and then you start bringing in the education stuff. So it's not like, oh, we're stopping this, we're starting this. There is, again, a learning process, a growing process, and you move them into it at a slower pace. But once you find those gaps in their education, once those gaps get filled, then they exponentially grow. They get caught up so fast and they pass what they should be doing, because most kids are actually really smart and intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just gaps, and there's missing floorboards in their floor, and they keep tripping in these holes. But you fill those holes in, you fill those gaps in, then suddenly they can run and get caught up so quickly. And so, if your children are having problems, even as late as high school, consider pulling them out and getting those gaps filled in.
Mm-hmm. That's actually reminds me completely what a lot of people have the problem with their teenagers right now. They say they come home from the school and they do nothing. But what have you taught them to do when they come home from school? They do nothing because they don't know what to do.
So this is going to be very unpopular, but children of all ages, elementary through high school, need boundaries, schedules, and routines. If they don't have boundaries, schedules, routines, if they don't have expectations to live up to and work towards, they will be lost, right? Everybody, no matter who you are, you like to know kind of where you're going and what's expected. Now, does that mean that it doesn't change and shift and grow as your children grow? Absolutely, it's going to. But you need to make sure you still have those boundaries, routines, and expectations, because that helps the child. Actually, those people who, like you said, they come home and don't do anything because they don't know what is expected or what they are supposed to be doing. And again, if you've been building this from a young age, it's easier when they're high school and teenage, right? But if you haven't, again, like Herb was saying, start slow. Okay, this is going to be the expectation. And you do have to stand your ground. You're not supposed to be your child's best friend. You're supposed to be the adult that helps them learn and grow. Now, are you supposed to be friendly and loving? Absolutely. But you can't treat them like your best friend, because then they aren't learning around those boundaries and expectations. So there are times that you might have to change the internet password and get them off of their games and off of their phones because they have no longer internet access, right? To get them to realize, oh, I really do need to do these things that mom and dad are asking me to do. But then, you work it out. One of our guests is a technology expert, and she has what's called a technology reset agreement. So you actually sit down and you make a plan for technology so your children are meeting those expectations, doing what they need to do before they get on their technology. They aren't just coming home and playing games. So I know that's not super popular, but we are the adults, and we need to make sure we're helping our children understand what our rules, boundaries, and expectations so that they can have happy lives.
And a really great analogy would be a tomato plant. If you plant a tomato plant and you just let it grow, it's going to grow across the ground, and there's going to be lots of little tomatoes on it, and they're going to be sitting on the ground, and it's not great. But if you put a structure, if you put a framework around it, if you put a cage around it, and you grow it up, and then you start pruning it, you take off the branches that aren't supposed to be there, that aren't productive, and then suddenly you have big, beautiful tomatoes on your plant that use the structure to grow up and through and hold themselves up. So instead of this thing spreading out across the ground with not great fruits, you have a child that is growing up through the structure, understands the structure, uses it to hold on to and reach new heights, and then it produces bigger fruits in that child's life. So structure isn't something to cage a child and to limit them. It's to give them something to hold on to as they climb and grow and create more fruits in their life.
Because when I was, I actually talked in one of the parenting podcasts as well, and I was saying the way people in different countries, they have different teaching ways. Right. So we were always, parents don't do as much for you, then they teach what to do. So, they don't do the things for you. They just teach you, like you say, I need this and this, and you just explain them, well, get the dishes from there, put them there, or like you explain them how to do the things instead of going and doing for them.
Yes, absolutely. And that starts from a young age, help them be successful by having high expectations. I know you can do this, and this is how you do it. Now go do it. Now, if they don't make that goal, if they don't reach that expectation, then you bring it back. You either re-explain or you figure out where things went wrong, and you help them figure out how to go and do that. So absolutely, you have to explain and show, and then continue to help them grow.
Because I have different education, so I teach differently. We're gonna wrap up as well, but my daughter is 9 years old, but even when she was 8, she was already able to do what a lot of teenagers and things are kids older are can do, even some maybe some adults. But when we go to the store, we went to the bookstore.
Mhm.
She had her own wallet. She had her own money. She picked up the things that she needed, wanted. She knew how much money she has. She counted the money and everything like this. She went to the cashier. She gave the items, got the change, heard how much money she has to pay, got the money, got the change, got everything, say thank you. She knows how to do that in that age already.
Yeah.
And we see kids who are in high school and they still don't know how to go and buy something from the store.
Uh-huh.
So there's
Exactly.
little skills, like you were saying, that's why the homeschooling, it doesn't, you have to teach them what to do, and that's what you do in a homeschool.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's start wrapping up. I can talk to you. You have such a good information. So the viewers definitely look up the Bringing Education Home podcast and get more videos and watch what Kristina and Herbert are talking with their guests, because you can learn so much more. And any last words you want to tell for the parents?
I really want parents to really think about what's best for themselves and their families, right? What is it that you want? What are your values and goals? What are the things that you're really hoping that your children, the heights that your children can reach, and what can you do about it to make it happen? That does not mean putting your child in a whole bunch of activities and running around 100 hours a week to different things. That means communication, family dynamics, growing together, and helping them with one or two special interests, not running around all over the place being super busy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I like to wrap this up is your jobs are going to come and go. Right now, people don't have jobs for their whole life. Your friends are going to come and go, but your children are going to be your children for your whole life. And if you don't grow that, if you don't take care of that, then at 18 years of age, they're gone and you might not see them again. We didn't do this stuff when we were, and I haven't seen one of my kids in over 10 years and he doesn't talk to me anymore. So work on the communication, work on your family values, because this is your family. And if you want them around, you need to put in the effort now, because all the other stuff is going to come and go, but they will forever be your children. And so put in the family education now, put in the priority of your children, because they're more important than your job. They're the most important thing you're going to do. They are the history, or they are the future of mankind. And if we don't build our families back, if we don't bring our families back, if we keep fracturing and spreading out, then we lose our knowledge, then we lose the cohesiveness of the family, then we lose the cohesiveness of society, and things start falling apart. So make your children a priority. There are other things that are important, and maybe because your children are a priority, you do have to do this job to keep stuff flowing, but still keep your family as that priority and grow your family so that they are there for you for your whole life.
Mm-hmm. To close up as well, I actually going to extend a little bit what you said, because if you didn't do it before, like you were pointing out, you didn't do it before, you can always start now. Just because you didn't do it this way before, it doesn't mean that, oh, I can't do it. You can start to make the change from the point that you are right now.
And even though you've made mistakes, you can go back and hopefully fix those mistakes, or at least change going forward so that those same mistakes don't happen again.
Yeah. So I always ask my guests this question as well, and I asked you both separately. Kristina, what makes you happy? Not what other people think happiness is or what people consider should make everybody happy, but personally you, what makes you happy?
Oh, a nice sunny beach really makes me happy, but also making sure that, our family, our children are taken care of. That's been my life passion. is making sure our kids are taken care of and they're getting the best education they can and they're having the best family life they can, so that we don't have, you know, all the different messed up things when they get to be adults. Let's take care of our kids.
And Herbert, you?
Oh, mine's much more practical. She doesn't make me happy, but making her happy makes me happy. We've been together for 35 years, and she does it for me. She is my life. She is my passion, and so much of what I do is to make our life together better, because she's my partner. And you know, every night when I go to bed, she is there and I get to hold on to her. And so this is the greatest work of my life, is putting into this relationship here. So this here is what makes me happy. And just being able to touch her and to hold her, it just brings me so much peace and joy in my life.
Yeah. And I can see how that is the connection. And you also present it to your children, and they're going to learn that for relationships too.
Absolutely.
You know, great. Okay. Thank you so much, Kristina Herbert. Thank you for watching, and go have fun. Go have fun with your children. Our brain works. So go have fun with your children. Go be present with them, and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.